This is another important topic which we will be discussing in this video is the variables, because these are those factors, if correctly been identified, it will help the researchers to develop the correct research title as well as the hypothesis of research. So let's discuss. So variables are those factors which are included in the research. Those factors which can vary, that is they are having the ability to change, are called as the variables. Anything a researcher can measure or observe and which is not constant or not fixed, and it differs from person to person, situation to situation, or time to time, is called as the variable. Let's understand it with a simple example. So let us understand it with the simple examples. Let's take age as one of the variable. Age can be 15 years, 16 years, 17 years, or 18 years. It varies from person to person. Similarly, height can also be a variable which can be 150 centimeter, 165 centimeter, 180 centimeter. Again, it also varies from person to person. Mood of a person can be happy, can be sad. It varies from situation to situation. The test score can be 50%, 75%, 90%. It varies from time to time, person to person, and situation to situation. Similarly, temperature can also be considered as a variable because the temperature also varies from time to time and situation to situation. There are six different types of variables which are commonly been discussed in the business research subject. So these variables are the independent variable. This is also called as the causing variable, as the researcher can control or manipulate this type of variables. The second is the dependent variable, on which the effect of independent variable is measured. Third is concomitant variable. It is again a type of independent variable, but it is not part of the study. That means this concomitant variable can also affect the dependent variable, but since it is not included in the study, it is required to be controlled by the researcher. The next type of variable is called as the mediating variable, which is also called as the bridge or middleman variable, as it mediates the impact of independent variable on dependent variable. The fifth type of variable is the moderating variable, which is also called as the influencer variable, as it modifies either positively or negatively the impact of independent variable on the dependent variable. And lastly is the extraneous variable. This is that variable which may produce its unwanted impact on dependent variable. So our inference or outcome of the study may become wrong, and hence it is important for the researcher to control on such types of extraneous variables. So let us discuss all these type of variables one by one, starting with the independent variable. The independent variable is called as the cause or input variable, because independent variables are those variables which the researcher can change, manipulate, or control, and its impact is measured on the dependent variable. Let us understand this with the example of price and sales. Here, price can be manipulated by the researcher, that is by either increasing the price of a product or by decreasing the price of the product, and then the impact of this price change can be studied on sales of that product. So here price is the independent variable, and sales, that is the outcome of manipulation of independent variable, can be measured on sales. So here price will become the independent variable which is manipulated by the researcher, and its impact is measured on sales as an outcome, so it becomes the dependent variable. Let us discuss few more examples. First example, by taking advertising budget as well as sales. The research question will be, does increasing the advertising budget increases sales? Here the independent variable will be the advertising budget and the dependent variable is the sales. The another example we can take here as the training program and employee productivity. The research question, does the employee training program improves productivity of employee? And here the training program can be given, cannot be given. The training program can be given 2, 3, 4 times in a year, and its impact on employee productivity can be measured. So training program becomes our independent variable and productivity becomes our dependent variable. Now let us understand what are dependent variables. So dependent variables are called as the effect or outcome variable. Dependent variable is that factor on which the researcher measures or observes the impact of independent variable. The change in dependent variable depends on the independent variable, and hence it is called as the dependent variable. In research, various dependent variables which are commonly been discussed are the employee productivity, customer satisfaction, demand or sales of a product, quality of the product, etc. So let us continue with the previous example of advertising budget and sales. Here the independent variable is advertising budget and the dependent variable is the sales revenue in rupees. We cannot have a control on sales, but sales will vary with the changes in the advertising budget. So we can measure the sales or revenue with the change in the advertising budget. So why sales is called as a dependent variable here? Because sales are the result of changing the advertising budget by the researcher. The next type of variable is the concomitant variable. A concomitant variable is also called as a co-variable or control variable, which is similar to or which is related to the independent variable, but it is not actually considered in our research study. That is, the concomitant variable is a type of independent variable, so it can affect the dependent variable, but since it is not part of our study, it is not included into our study, so we have to control the concomitant variable so as to avoid any type of impact of these concomitant variables on the dependent variable. Let us understand with the example of employee productivity and work from home policy. The main research objective is to see the impact of work from home policy versus work from office and its impact on dependent variable, that is the productivity score of employees. But here the employee productivity may also get affected because of employee experience in terms of years, the internet quality at home, age of the employees can also affect the productivity of the employees. But since these factors are not part of the research study and hence these factors are called as the concomitant variable, which are required to be controlled by the researcher so as to avoid its impact on the outcome of dependent variable. Next is the mediating variable, which is also called as a mediator, is like a middleman or a mechanism that explains how or why the independent variable affects the dependent variable. That means the impact of independent variable on the dependent variable is mediated by the mediating variable. So we can simply say that the mediating variable sits between the independent and dependent variable. So let us take the same example of advertising and the purchase decision. We know that the advertising influences the purchase decision, but the purchase decision also depends on customer awareness about the product as well as other factors like celebrity endorsement, which can mediate the impact of independent variable on dependent variable. Thus, we can show the relationship between independent and dependent variable like this by connecting these two constructs or two factors with the help of arrow. But as we are saying that the customer awareness and celebrity endorsement can also influence the purchase decision, so now the same construct can be shown like this. That is, here the celebrity endorsement, that is CE, and the brand awareness by the customer are these two variables or factors which are mediating the impact of advertisement on the purchase decision of customer. So this is a kind of conceptual diagram. So in examination, if it is asked you to prepare or develop a conceptual diagram, then you have to develop the conceptual diagram by connecting with the help of arrows and showing which are the independent variable, which is the dependent variable, which are mediating or moderating variable. Now let us understand what is a moderating variable or also called as a moderator. Moderating variable is a type of variable that changes or modifies the effect or strengthens the effect of independent variable on dependent variable. Let us take an example of a research study on social media advertising effectiveness on purchase intention of customer. Since here social media advertisement is the independent variable connecting to the purchase intention, that is the dependent variable, with the help of arrow that shows a direct relationship or direct impact of independent variable on the dependent variable. But since we are wanting to show that age is the moderator, so age will be connecting to the arrow only and not directly to the independent or dependent variable, and this connecting arrow of a moderator to the connecting arrow between the independent and dependent variable is shown with the broken arrow or broken line. So in the previous case, the mediating variables were directly been connected by independent and dependent variable with the solid arrow, whereas the moderators are connecting to the arrow, not to the construct, and but with the broken arrow. So in examination, if you have to show mediating variable, moderating variable, then this difference must be taken into consideration. Lastly, an extraneous variable is any variable which is other than the independent variable, but that will have its impact on the dependent variable and it will produce the unexpected, unwanted results. That is, the outcome which is measured on the dependent variable will be unexpectedly varied. That is, the extraneous variable will produce the unexpected result on the outcome of the study, and hence they are required to be identified and strictly being controlled by the researcher. Let us take the same example of employee training effectiveness. So when we are studying employee training effectiveness, our independent variable will be the sales training and the dependent variable will be the employee performance, and employee performance may also get affected by age of the employee, previous experience level of the employee, as well as the skills level or motivation level of the employee, and hence these factors may affect our dependent variable, that is the employee performance, and our results or outcome of the research study may be wrong, and hence these extraneous variables are required to be identified and controlled by the researcher. That's why extraneous variables are called as the unwanted variables which are there in the research study. I hope now you are clear with all different types of variables. So in examination, if a question arises, what are the different types of variables which are there? Probably independent and dependent variable can be easily identified, but the mediating and moderating variables you require to identify on your own, which are logically can be connected with the independent and dependent variable as discussed with the conceptual diagram.